The very first impact that a global economic recession would have across the bike industry is going to be bike prices will likely go up. Now, I know you're probably thinking this is just like the pandemic. This is not new information. Well, not really. The pandemic was mostly driven because of a supply and demand issue, for the most part. You're more so looking at the raw material aspect. You're going to see the raw material cost of steel, aluminum, carbon fiber go massively up, and then you're also going to have those same supply chain disruptions that we had during the pandemic, coupled with the raw material cost increasing, and that's going to drive bike prices through the roof. The other thing here is there are a few different factors you can look for. The first thing we're going to see is price increases across smaller components, right? You're going to start seeing drivetrain get a little bit more expensive, cranksets, handlebars, the things that are kind of more raw and not as refined or built out and assembled. You're going to start to see price increases across that. That's going to be one indicator. The next indicator is going to be supplier announcements. And we're already seeing this across the tech sector, and I think that the bike industry, with all of its tech, is probably not very far behind. The last one is going to be sales and discounts. Sales and discounts is one of those areas where 2024 has been highly prevalent with those, and we're going to start seeing less and less. No more BOGOs, no more 40, 50% off in some cases. 60% I think Specialized was at one point. No more of that. We're going to see far less sales, far less promotion, and that's a really big indicator that people are going to want to start holding on to their money and retaining value in their product because it's going to cost them far more to produce. The second thing that is going to be massively impacted by a global economic recession across the bike industry is going to be your local bike shop. Now, your local bike shop, no matter how big they are, how many locations they have, or how many EV chargers they have in the parking lot, they're still operated just like any other small business. During a recession, small businesses, they probably get it the hardest because they don't have massive capital. They might not have all the business experience in the world to help navigate some of these things, and it's just difficult. Now, your local bike shop, at the end of the day, they're going to face the same price increases that you will. They're going to have difficulty hiring, staffing, and keeping people employed because unemployment and recession generally kind of fall in line with each other. And the same thing they're going to have is supply chain issues. That's going to be across the board. Some of the indicators here might be foot traffic. Are people actually walking through the door of your local bike shop and spending money? Is the parking lot full? Have they reduced their service hours? Are they now taking off an extra hour early? Be careful not to equate that just to seasonality. The other big one is actually don't look into this, but do not go search out commercial real estate and count how many bike shops you see and compare that week to week. That number is pretty high. The third thing that's going to be massively impacted by a global economic recession across the bike industry is going to be your large brands, your household names, your big guys with holding companies and massive investors, the big ones. You're going to see key indicators from them and they're going to act almost as a gauge because most of their decisions are based off of risk and financial, obligation. Is we're going to start seeing brands change their strategy, right? Let's say that hypothetically you had a bike brand that was a bike shop brand only. You might even have your own labeled bike shops. And then overnight you come to the decision that we're going to switch to direct to consumer and you just completely 180 your brand strategy. That'd be really big. That'd be crazy if somebody did that. And then the next thing you're going to see is, I don't necessarily want to say a lack of innovation, but kind of. You're going to mostly just see, kind of cosmetic changes to things. You're not going to see really tech really change much. You're going to see colorways change. You're going to see maybe the outside of something, derailleur cage. You'll see that change. But as far as base level tech, that's usually where all of the money gets tied up and people take the most risk. You're not going to see many changes in that, which would be crazy. The fourth thing that is going to be massively impacted by a global economic recession in the bike industry is actually going to be consumer trends. Now, I say this because people are going to start prioritizing repairs over upgrades, the luxury class of items, the super high-end Kashima Co. rainbow oil slick. People are just going to go for anodized or raw aluminum because it costs less. Now, people will start making decisions based on that, and you'll see it at small scale first, then it's going to go big scale, right? People are just going to liquidate their high end bikes, which would be crazy if that was what was Facebook Marketplace today. Anyways, I digress. From there, we're going to start seeing things like a rise in content creation surrounding more of your simple bike, maybe making the most out of what you have, or DIY, or repair. The second thing we're going to see is a lot more people buying tools, buying tool kits, working on their bikes themselves. That's going to be a big indicator that people, again, aren't going to bike shops. And then we're also going to start seeing bike sales data and reporting surrounding lower end bikes being the big seller. The high end stuff starting to fall off. We might see some sales on high end stuff just so people can clear their shelves, but again, consumer data and consumer behavior is going to be heavily changed if the economy crashes. We're going to see a lot less people spending money that they don't have to, and a lot more people are going to hold on to their bikes, which kind of drives back to all the other points we've covered so far. The fifth and final thing here is actually a bizarre indicator that I think a lot of us have missed. Now, I covered very heavily the entire wiggle, chain reaction cycles, nuke proof Vetus, Ragley situation very heavily on this channel. They were in the news cycle for months across the world of cycling. Then they got bought, the IP was purchased, and we've heard nothing ever since. Kind of weird, but okay. And then the more I start digging in, the more groups on Facebook I join talking about warranties not being fulfilled, bikes never coming out, no news, no newsletters, no updates. Why on earth would somebody like Mike Ashley with Fraser's Group purchase this company, purchase his brand name, and do nothing with it right at the height of cycling season? That's just a little weird. Now, let's go back to one of the points I made here, where I'm talking about these big brands kind of being driven off of risk and money and the economy. I'm kind of putting those two in the same category, and I think that might be why we've heard nothing. Maybe it's one of those where right now it just doesn't make much sense to try to launch this risky brand when bike sales are down, the industry's kind of down as a whole. It's just a little weird. So let me know if you've heard anything as far as, Nuke Proof, Vetus, Wiggle, CRC, any of those brands for that matter, down below in the comments. I would really love to have an update on that, and I think a lot of people would appreciate it. Otherwise, let me know what you think about the rest of this video and what other indicators you may or may not have seen. As always, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you on the next video.